You cannot hit a target you cannot see. You have to see it first, because somehow things start to happen when you really figure out what you want. And if you will just write down, I challenge you before the day is over, so we can say that everyone at the Creating Balance Conference came out with one goal written down. Can we do that? Say yes, Coach. Even that, if that goal is watch your mouth, I don't care. I just want to be able to say that everyone in this room took one step toward changing their life by writing it down. There is an entire economy right now in Central Florida based on one man's dream. Who is that? Walt Disney. Can you imagine the day that Walt sat down with the bankers and said, we are going to build $1 billion empire based on a mouse and a fairy and 7 dwarfs. Will you help me? How impossible that must have seemed. When Epcot Center opened in Florida, Walt Disney had passed away, but his brother Roy Disney was still alive. So the reporter runs up to Roy and says, oh, this must be a bittersweet day for you. You must be so excited because Walt's dream has come true. But you must be so sad because Walt didn't get to see it. Without hesitation, Roy Disney said, Walt did see it. That's why you get to see it. Ooh, doesn't that give you chills? Doesn't it? It's just like, ooh. What do you see? It's between your ears and then between your hours. You have to have a written plan. For years, I talked about writing it down, but I wasn't doing it. And so when I went through this life change after 15 years of marriage and ended up in divorce, it's not something you put on your to-do list, so I had to reevaluate. So I started writing everything down. And I wrote in little tiny letters that I wanted to do television. And I just wrote it, you know, I was scared to write it, but I wrote it. And I was just scared. You've been there when you're scared of those dreams. They just seem so impossible. So I wrote it in little tiny letters in case somebody found my journal. And I wrote television. 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from someone that was filming a cable television show at the Opryland Hotel. It was the National Karaoke Championship, and they asked me to host it. I was like, I just wrote that down. That's so cool. But it was this little cable show. So the next year, I did the show with Dick Clark. I thought, whoa. Now, did it happen because I wrote it down? Don't know, don't care. It makes a great story, don't you think? But anyway, I thought I better get a little more specific. I'm going to put national television. So 3 years ago, I'm speaking in Atlanta, Georgia. My phone rings, and a casting director from Los Angeles calls me. And she says, hi, Dale. My name is Stephanie. I'm with Fox Casting in Los Angeles. And we are bringing the show, The Simple Life, to Nashville, Tennessee. We would like for Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie to stay in your home for 3 days. First of all, I looked at God and said, I meant Oprah. I meant Oprah. When I wrote national television down, I meant Oprah. I didn't mean Paris. I don't know how God got Paris and Oprah mixed up. And I said, what? She said, yes, we want Paris and Nicole to go through one of your boot camps. And I'm like, no, you don't. But Paris and Nicole came and stayed at my house, and we were the season finale of The Simple Life in 2005. And yes, it is recorded on DVD for history's sake. And so the next thing I wrote down, I kept writing it down, and then I went to Dr. Phil and all the other things. It's not because I'm famous or because I'm special. It's because I dared to have a dream. And my question is, what is yours? What is your dream? Dare to write it down. Your success starts inside you. And when you begin to write it down and create that vision, surround yourself with visionaries who can help you move to that next step. Again, when I was going through my divorce, I had a car that I really wanted that I couldn't afford, so I wrote it down and I decided I would go visit my car. I could not buy that car, but I could visit my car. So I took a camera and went out to the Lexus dealership. And so Nick and I went out to the Lexus dealership, and the guy was so funny. He comes running out. He said, can I help you? And I said, I'm here to look at a Lexus GS300. He said, I'm here to sell you one. I said, you missed a little word there. I said, look, I don't have a camera. I don't have a checkbook, but I have a camera. Can you take my picture in that car so I can see how cute I'm going to be in it? For 2 years, I visited my car. For 2 solid years, I visited my car. But you know what? I had to get the vision. Because if I kept telling myself, you will never afford that, that's exactly what would happen. And so I continued to visit the car for 2 solid years, became friends with this salesperson. 2 years later, I'm ready to buy the car, go to Lexus. I'm so excited that he's been so good to me. And I go there, and he'd been there for 10 years. He had just left the dealership 2 weeks. And exactly, that's how I felt. And so I asked the guy there at Lexus, I said, is he selling cars anywhere else? He should have never answered that question. He said, actually, he is. He's at this high-end used car dealership in Brentwood. So I said, bye. And he said, I thought you were buying a car. I said, I can't buy that car from you. I have to buy a car from this guy that's helped me fill my dream. So I went down there on Monday morning. I walk in. Y'all, he put his head down on his desk. He's like, you found me. I said, but I got a checkbook. And so we've been friends ever since. But during this process, Nicholas was watching. You see, ladies and gentlemen, the children are watching. And as you begin to create success in your own life, you're also teaching them. Teaching them how to have a positive attitude. Teaching them how to have a championship language. Teaching them to set goals. So one day, Nick comes rolling into the kitchen. He was so excited. He goes, Mom, I've got my goal list. And I was like, yes, this is awesome. It said dirt bike 100 times. I looked at him. See, Nick has figured out that the mother of all skill is repetition, just like I told you before. You just have to keep repeating it. I'll prove this again. How many of you can get in your car and a song comes on from college or high school and you can sing it immediately? I see the nodding. Is it because you read and memorized the liners of the songs? No, it's because you repeated it. What about success principles? If you just repeated them over and over and over again, it's the same thing. So Nick has got it. Mother of all skill is repetition. The word no to my kid means ask again. You see, ladies, kids have got it. They know how to ask. They ask 4 ways, and I want you to really think about this, and especially if you're in sales. Kids ask clearly, they ask confidently, they ask consistently, and they ask creatively. Am I right? Say yes, Coach. And they figure out a way to ask. And so I told Nick, I said, Nick, guess what, baby? You're not getting the dirt bike. I love you. I adore you. You are not getting a dirt bike. He goes, fine. I'll dream till I'm 18 then. So every time we left the Lexus dealership, he says, we need to go on over to the Honda dealership while we're out. We need my picture on that bike. What do? You go, you get your picture on the bike. So he'd been asking for about 8 months, and you remember creatively when I tell you the story. Sometimes it's finding a new way to ask if you're wanting to create success. Different ways to ask yourself, first of all. You've got to ask more of yourself than anybody else. We were down at the Pyramid in Memphis, Tennessee, and I was speaking to 15,000 people. I was there for a big Amway weekend, and I'd spoken with all my heroes, Zig and Dennis Waitley, and so many of my heroes. And on Sunday morning, they decided to have a church service for all the people that wanted to stay for church. Well, 10,000 people stayed for church. And they were doing the Passion Play, where they acted out the Bible from the birth to the resurrection. Nick was psyched. He was there with me and sitting beside me. And he was so excited because there was camels and angels and things moving and flying, and he was just so excited. And about halfway through this presentation, remember creatively, Jesus walks out to the side of the stage and holds his arms out and says to the crowd, you can have anything if you will just ask it in my name. 10-year-old Nick Thomas jumped to his feet. He threw his arms to the sky, and in a voice loud enough for God in heaven to hear him, he proceeded to say, Dear Jesus, please let my mama and daddy get me a motorcycle for Christmas. Thank you